Welcome to the Fantasy Football Channel. Today we are back. We are coming at you with top 15 running backs. That's right. We are rankings this week. It is rankings, baby. Sexy, sexy time of the year for those fantasy drafts. Adam, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful, and I love the passion you're bringing to this running back conversation today. I can feel it in your voice. We run a pretty big standard league that's super flex with some QBs, so we love some RBs. We love talking about them. We're breaking down the top 15. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I am excited today, you guys. We have a couple bold ones. We have decided the traditional top five that everybody has must be changed. So we do have a curveball in there for you. Are you ready to get into this?
I am born ready to talk about running backs. Come on now.
All right, we are working backwards. Top 15. Adam, who is number 15 for us this year?
Number 15, Mr. Ken Walker on a new team in Kansas City. Real quick, some people are much higher on Ken Walker than most. I have a stat for you that is extremely important. The Kansas City Chiefs' last running back to rush over 1,000 yards was 2017. Kareem Hunt's rookie year with 1,300 yards. And that's why we're doing Chiefs running backs a slight disservice, because that's not how Andy Reid operates. He likes to feed to multiple people, and Patrick Mahomes' era has not had 1,000 yards rusher. Kyle, what you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, we are just two lower than ESPN on this guy right now. And really, for me, think about the situation he had in Seattle. Great offense line, great rushing coordinator over there, head coach. So I don't see that getting any better for him. Yes, he shared work with Charbonnet. I think he still had tons of opportunities. Obviously, Super Bowl MVP looked great out there against a New England defense that, may or may not have should have been there. So I don't think Kansas City's run game is going to be as good for him. So that's why we are just slightly lower on him. I still think he'll get tons of work and tons of points for fantasy this year, but I can't get him any higher than that.
Yeah, and remind everybody, 25th offensive line, ranked offensive line for Mr. Ken Walker as in the Chiefs. So that ain't good. That ain't good.
Yeah.
Why don't you lead us with number 14? Because we're both a little optimistic on this one.
Yeah, we are both rising a bit on Breece Hall. And this is someone who came in with, I believe, a sophomore year, had a nice top five finish, and really just kind of struggled ever since. During this offseason, he did get paid, and they've kind of recommitted to him, and they have a revamped offensive line. It's Mike Clay's got it middle of the pack here around 14. And they have one of the easiest schedules, and they don't really have a lot of pass catchers. They drafted a high rookie tight end, of course, who I believe is injured right now. So, I still think the foundation is they're going to want to run the ball and recommit to him. And Geno Smith is their new quarterback this year, and he's a guy who we know can at least throw to the running back quite a bit. He did that for Genty last year. So, and I think Breece Hall is pretty good in space. He was still 1,000-yard rusher last year. It was a bad offense all the way around, and he was very limited on his touchdown attempts. So I see we have him as about 5 spots higher, and I think that could even be higher than that.
Yeah, I like what you said there in terms of the Jets gave up on Breece Hall 2 years ago. They were public about it, and this is one of the rare circumstances in the NFL where they said, we're done with him. He said, they're done with me, and then they rejoiced. And they said, you know what? Actually, as a New York Jets owner, we have no weapons outside of Garrett Wilson. We might actually need you. And they paid him the bag, and they got him rolling. And to Kyle's point, where like most is, the fourth easiest strength of schedule, that's going to do him wonders. But this team and this offense, we cannot miss this part. It has struggled so many years in a row that it is tough to watch that offensive football sometimes, and it can be painful, and that's why he's down a little bit in our rankings. Number 13 is a fan favorite of mine for a long time, and that is Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. This is one of the most potent offenses in the NFL. They're going to put up over 50, 55 touchdowns easy. They move the ball every single possession because you got Matt Stafford behind the helm, and Kyren's always produced, and even with Corum nipping at his heels a little bit, Kyren still always will produce, and he'll still get enough to justify this valuation.
Yeah, I think we did the math. It was like a 60-40 split is what it was toward the end of last year, and Blake was actually a little more effective on a per touch. But I will say last year, Stafford threw for a ridiculous amount of touchdowns due to the addition of Davante Adams. Davante Adams was a red zone machine. I feel like that balances out a little bit this year, and I think you'll get a couple more to the running backs to help Kyren. And this is still 4 spots lower than where he finished last year. He was top 10 last year at running back 9. So we got him here at 13. So, they do have the 27th hardest, so a very hard schedule, but still a top 5 offensive line. So that's kind of how we're balancing out with our final decision here at running back 13 for Kyren Williams. Adam, who do we got at 12? We got a bit of a homer here.
This is a homer. It's our man, Josh Jacobs, and he has got some hate this offseason, not because of off-field issues. I'm going to put that aside, but because he lost a little bit of rush per carry at the end of last year. And let's tell you why. He was injured. He was beat up, and he played through injury to help Green Bay. So I fully expect that efficiency to get back to where it was. And here's why Josh Jacobs is here. He's going to get 300 carries this year as long as he's healthy, no matter what. He's going to get 15 to 18 carries a game in Matt LaFleur's offense. That Packers always stick to the run. And this is something that may not be the most flashy guy, right? But it's always going to be consistent volume and consistent carries. And that's what we're looking for an RB, fringe RB1, RB2.
Yeah, I mean, we can argue here about the offensive line has regressed a little bit, and they did lose some different pieces, but I still think they're going to be a run-heavy team. They do have a bit of a harder schedule this year, but this is we are one spot off where he finished last year and he missed time last year. So I think as long as he's healthy, I think he's a lock for a top 12 running back, just with the sheer workload volume and the head coach and how they play football.
Mm-hmm. And number 11, the king himself, Derrick Henry. He finished 2025 as running back 8 without Lamar being there most of the time. 279 fantasy points. The Ravens still have the 5th easiest schedule and the 21st best offensive line, so they do struggle there. But Derrick Henry is the running back that cannot die. He defies all odds. He reminds me of Frank Gore in terms of his longevity. I don't know how or why he's still doing it. Obviously, his size is a huge factor, but this is one where it's like everyone's like, oh, he's getting older, he could die off. He could easily finish as a top 5, top 3 running back. Every year he's playing football, and there's just some risk with the age, and that's how that is.
Yeah, you got the new head coach over there, and I think he's a defensive-minded guy. You still have Lamar. They did get a couple of big rookie receivers, but I still think they're going to want to focus on running the football. And Henry just is a guy that has defied the age. Like you said, he's now 32, and he was a touchdown machine last year. So for standard scoring, I would have him even higher than this. But this is a PPR ranking, and he's not going to catch a lot of balls. So this is where we ended up with him at 11, which is 3 spots back from where he finished last year. And I think that's just due to some of the uncertainties there and a little bit of maybe the age drop off for efficiency. But I still think very, very solid here, and one of the easier schedules. So I think that bodes to him and Lamar's favor. And then you do have, Lamar could vulture some touchdowns with his legs, but I believe Henry still had 16 touchdowns last year. So standard scoring, I mean, he would be much higher for me.
Mm-hmm. You lead number 10, baby.
Number 10, Saquon Barkley finished last year at running back 14, and a bit of a slide out of stardom for this guy. I mean, just the woes for Philadelphia's offense kind of were all over this. And they did have some injuries on the offensive line, and that is primarily why we're expecting at least a little bit of a bounce from him. We're going to move him 4 spots from where he finished last year to make the top 10. It's the player. It's going to be the lack of passing game. It's going to be the head coach, the easier schedule. They still want to run the ball. They have a good offensive line. So we think, he can be inside the top 10 pretty easily. And we just have him at top 10 because we don't quite know how it's going to shake out. And that, he is at like 30, the running back age-ish cliff. So that's kind of why we have him here.
Absolutely. I am always tough on Eagles and Eagles fans because they are tough on the public and they are hard on themselves. So I like to align with that. But Saquon Barkley, guys, is 2 years removed from a 1,900-yard record-breaking phenomenal season. And I think the Eagles organization is going to look at where did we go wrong last year? Where did we go right 2 years ago? And that's your answer. Get this man 300 carries. You don't have A.J. Brown to worry about forcing him the ball anymore. Get Saquon his 300 carries behind this offensive line, and you're going to see the Philadelphia offense improve. If they don't do that, if they try to make Jalen Hurts turn into an elite passing quarterback, they are in trouble. So give this man the ball, and this is a serious value alert in Saquon because he could finish top 5 easy.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that has me keeping him at 10 is Tank Bigsby. When he came in last year, Tank Bigsby at times looked like a better runner. So,
Whoa. whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
there were some times where the offense line was banged up and Tank Bigsby
Whoa.
came in and ran the ball hard.
Did you
So
just say Tank Bigsby at times with like a better running back than Saquon Barkley?
yeah, so I don't know if he also has some kind of like AJ Brown drama, or maybe the AJ Brown drama had him not playing his best
No.
football or
Saquon,
whatever it
Saquon
was.
Barkley is
We know
drama-free,
is
great character. Him and Jalen Hurts are very similar, great character, high character
okay.
guys. I don't think that at all.
Okay. Well, then we have him at a bounce. And like I said, this is a guy who could finish top 5 if he returns to form. So we're kind of pricing in a little bit of a middle ground here for him.
Yep. And number 9, I want you to give the backdrop of kind of the ebbs and flows of James Cook the past 2 to 3 years and what we're thinking on that.
Yeah, James Cook, we have at 9, slightly lower than consensus. And this is a guy who I was pounding the table on in the last couple of years when he's been outside the top 10 every year, and he was finishing strong each season. And I'm like, yeah, they have a lot of guys, but it's a great offensive line. They run the ball, and he's by far the most talented running back in this offense. And finally last year, everybody's like, oh yeah, this guy's pretty good. So the last 2 years, though, he did have quite a bit of touchdowns fall his way. I think we're going to see maybe just a slight pullback. So that's why I can't get him as high as ESPN and some of the other guys right now. You know, Josh Allen, they do have Ray Davis. I mean, they're still involved. Those guys do get, a decent amount of reps out there, and they get some passes thrown their way. So I think just from a upside of PPR and touchdown, I think it'll be pulled back a hair this year is why I have him where he is.
Yeah, due to Josh Allen's legs and help and James Cook's ability, the Buffalo Bills are the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL, no question about it in terms of total yardage. But them getting DJ Moore, I think, adds a little bit of physicality and potential to throw the ball in the red zone and kind of make the defense say, what are we going to do now? We got to cover 2 guys that can run. We got to cover a 6'4" aggressive DJ Moore. You still got Khalil Shakir, who's pretty elusive out there. So there could be other ways they put the ball in the end zone. To your point, but you did buy on him low the last 3 years, and now we are flipping the script and we are selling high.
Yeah, sell high a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, right? I just see some touchdowns going a little more Josh Allen. And maybe some of the other running backs a little bit more is how I see it.
Yep. All right. We got to put on.
I better leave the next guy because you are much lower on this guy. We have Ashton Jeanty at 8. I would have him much higher. Adam is a little down on this guy.
Put on the gloves. Put on the gloves for this one, folks.
His rookie year, this dude still finished as running back 11 with the worst offensive line and the worst head coach and the worst total offense in the NFL. Like, he's got nowhere to go but up. The dude can catch. The dude is a beast out there. He looks for safeties. He runs them over. Go watch his highlights. Anyways, so I think, the sky is the limit for this guy. He's got top 5 upside all day. They did get a new head coach, the Seahawks offense coordinator from last year. They're redoing the offensive line. So I think they're making all of the necessary changes for this guy to be great for fantasy. It's just how quickly can we see it, and how does it all come together?
Ashton Jeanty is a freak talent, and I love his Mike Myers stance. However, you proved my point for me in terms of the worst offensive line, the worst coach, the worst offense.
Last year, it gets better. It gets better.
Year that does not flip a script. All of a sudden, now they're going to be amazing. That is a multi-year progression. No one flipped a script on that. So that is why I would like Jeanty lower. Nothing against the player. It is just the fact that every game I watched last year, the dude got hit either behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage every single rush play and had a terrible rushing average. The offensive line is a little better, but not a lot. They're going to have a dance between Kirk and Fernando, and I think it's going to be another year before we see some serious production out of Jeanty and Fernando next year. And that's just why I'm sticking with it.
That's fine. That's why we got him at 8, and that's why it is our consensus, and hopefully that gives people the best results. Number 7, a guy we are both high on, Chase Brown. And guys, this is where he finished last year in PPR at running back 7. And that was with an injured Joe Burrow for a lot of the year. And you know how that looked. So he's one of the best pass catching running backs. The concerns are obviously his offensive line and their ability to open up holes for him. We know he's got 2 Ferrari receivers out there. They're going to certainly stretch the defense. So he should have tons of room to run that way. But they do have one of the easiest, if not the easiest, schedules in all of the NFL this season. So we don't think we can have him any lower than how he finished last year.
Yeah, if you hit this one on the head, The thing I like most about any Bengals player is their defense is so bad, their offense has to put up points repeatedly. And to Kyle's point, any running back is going to perform better when they have their starting QB in there to move the chains more, to get more yards, to get more touchdown looks. And so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at Chase Brown 7 with some upside of higher due to those factors. And number 6, and this one hurt our souls a little bit, not a lot.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. This is a Wisconsin native.
Do you want to tell them why?
Running backs. Well, there's a lot of reasons why.
You tell us the main reason why.
Well, I mean, it's PPR, and he got 46 catches last year, and a lot of these other cats in front of him are going to get 60, 70, and an A-Chain sake and CMC's sake, maybe 80 catches, and that is a 40-point difference, and that is enough to bump him beneath these other guys. Love Jonathan Taylor. I like the Colts. What you got?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, the offensive line isn't rated the best, and last year was a phenomenal year for him. But the bigger point is we had this discussion as we were finalizing these. All right, so we looked up the top 5 players by ESPN at the running back position: Gibbs, Bijan, CMC, Taylor, A-Chain. It's like pretty much across the board. Yeah. So, and it's a repeat of last year. Those guys all finished in the top 5 last year. And that has never repeated like that before. It's averaged out to like 2 to 3 of the guys getting in the top 5 again. So somebody is definitely not going to be in there. And with the amount of receptions we think A-Chan's going to get, it has to be by default Jonathan Taylor, because we have a stronger conviction on the other 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just to echo that stat here, in the last 5 years, 10 of 25 running backs that were consensus rated top 5 finished out of that, which is about 40%. And that is why our rankings are not consensus, and that is why you don't follow rankings and ADP blindly, because history does not always repeat itself identically, and you got to mix some things up, and boy, have we.
Yeah. Okay, number 5, why don't you take him away, Mr. Miami, Mr. A-Chain.
Devon A-Chain. Not only is he Miami Dolphins' best running back, he is the Miami Dolphins' best wide receiver. Malik Willis is not the best thrower. He can throw the ball well, but he is going to be looking for some dump downs. He's going to be scatting out, pitching it to our boy A-Chain. A-Chain's going to have 80 catches this year, guys. 80 catches. You're hearing it here first. What's your take over there?
Yeah, I mean, they have a very hard schedule, and I don't think the offense is going to be very good. But what else are they going to do? They're going to have to rely on their best player for whatever offense they can get. And it has to be A-Chain. And he has to have a ridiculous amount of targets, and he has to be running the ball a lot. I think, Malik is probably going to take some rushing touchdowns, but if those guys can figure out a nice little dual rush attack together, I think that's their best chance for upside for both of them. He probably would have been my favorite to be, out of the top 5 here, but the consensus has him there with his receiving floor.
At number 4, Omarion Hampton might be the steal of the draft, and I'm planting my flag on this one. He was injured last year, so no one got the for sure consensus on it. Now he has Mike Daniels as the OC. He has both of his tackles back with a healthy offensive line and a very good offensive line when they're healthy. He has a phenomenal quarterback in Herbert, and this offense is going to be humming on all cylinders. Omarion Hampton's a steal. He's finished in top 5, and he is going to impress some people this year. What you got?
You and I both know I'm a phenomenal dancer.
Oh, wedding crashers. God, bring it
out. This is the boldest move that we have here in the top 15. We have Hampton at 4. And really, when you think about everything Adam just said, you have one of the better offensive lines. You have one of the better offensive coordinating minds who has done nothing but produce great running backs in Miami. Think about when they had Achane and Mostert that season. I think they're both top 10, if not better running backs. And they've had great, even last year, they had 3 guys that came and ran the ball very well in Miami. So I think Hampton is a lock for, if he stays healthy, for a very strong year. When he was in there last year, he did produce, even with a less caliber offensive line. So when they get this offensive line right, I think the sky is the limit for this guy, and he's a guy who's going to catch balls.
Yeah.
And Vidal is not going to surpass him. Keaton Mitchell, I think, is the other guy who may get some receiving work, but this guy is just way more talented than both of those other guys.
Yeah, nobody wanted to hear what Mike McDaniels had to say yesterday when he went on the mic and he said, "Oh, is this a fantasy football question?" In terms of someone asking about
Mhm.
Hampton and how much volume he's going to get,
Mhm.
and he immediately said, "Well, I have bad news for fantasy owners, and that's essentially that all three of these guys are going to play, and you're never going to know which team we're going to do it against." I think that is, in large, a charade because Omarion Hampton is the absolute best running back on this team, and it's not even close. Yes, Vidal stepped in well, but this guy is so much better that it's not going to be some 40-40-20. It's going to be 70 Hampton and then figure the rest out when you need them.
Yeah, I hope it keeps going because then it can keep his 80 price a little lower
That would be nice.
for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, number 3, CMC. We have top dogs, Gibbs, Bijan, CMC. CMC at 3. I mean, you guys can't. It's really hard to argue any of these rankings. The dude finished one last year, over 400 points in that San Francisco offense. Like, he is the offense, right? Shanahan is good. He's going to get a ridiculous amount of touches, grabs, rushes. He's just so good. They have a pretty easy schedule, one of the best offensive lines. So there's no way you can really get him any lower unless you're putting on an injury risk of what happened to him, 2 years ago. That's the only way you'd be passing on him or lower than him at 3.
Yeah, any year CMC has slid and he wasn't injured, that was a mistake because as long as he's not injured, he's a top 3 running back. They force him the ball. He's a 49ers offense. He gets like 8 to 10 targets a game. It's just, there's nothing else you need to say. But he did experience some tightness, calf, and his calf tightness. You remember when they said that and they shut him down for a whole year?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just one of those things where, like, how much risk can you handle on your fantasy team? If you don't care about the risk and you're chasing championships and swinging, like, you draft him whenever you can. If those other 2 guys are off the board, for sure. Outside of that, like, if he burns you 1 year, then I could see you just being not on your draft list, and then you just take the next guy up, right?
Yep, absolutely. All right, before we go to the top 2, this is exactly why you're going to need the Fantasy Football Channel rankings because the top 2 is a perfect example of this, you guys. If you're sitting there saying this is a 50-50 coin flip, it is not. The reason for it on these 2 specifically between Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs has the number 1 easiest schedule in the NFL, and Bijan has the 19th easiest. So not easy at all. All you have to do is follow us and DM a little rankings, and we're going to get you this whole document to yourself. You can play with it, you can adjust it, and you can use it during your drafts. So that way, if you're thinking, where do I want to go here? Look at strength of schedule. Look at offensive line. Don't flip a coin on it. Be detailed, be decisive within these moves. And with that said, these 2 running backs are amazing. I do think Bijan Robinson's a little bit of a better running back, but I like the situation for Jahmyr Gibbs better in terms of no more David Montgomery. Dan Campbell said he's a bell cow and the easiest strength of schedule. This dude's going to have so many touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are both. It's like, okay, give me the second pick, and I'll just take the other guy, and I'm happy, right?
And then you get someone closer on the way back.
That's what you're doing here. Then you can beat that guy on the turn, and you can pin him against each round to see what he needs for your team to build. It's kind of how I would prefer to play that personally. I think you nailed it with the strength of schedule here. Really does favor Gibbs and the lack of Montgomery not being there. But I mean, Bijan is just as good. We looked it up. They caught like 2. I think they were 2 grabs away. Bijan still caught over 70 grabs last year or something ridiculous. So he still catches for PPR as well. You think it's Gibbs, but it's both of these guys. And then offensive line, the Falcons also have a pretty good offensive line. We know their quarterback situation is, leaves a little to be desired there. So they're still going to rely heavily on the run game. So it's really just those particulars. In your preference, you've been pounding the horn on Gibbs all season.
When I saw the schedules come out and Dan Campbell saying, we now have a bell cow. What else do you need to see? Feed that man.
Yeah, just feed them. Feed these boys. All right, do you have any other final thoughts? I have one I want to mention here.
No, light it up.
Notice we have the sexy Jeremiah Love outside the top 15. We just, with a rookie, with the Cardinals, and with all of the other guys in that backfield, that's messy, and it's just preferred to avoid it. And I mean, think about how good Genty is, and he was still 11 last year with all of the reps for the Raiders.
And
imagine Love gets, even if Love gets 50% of the reps, if Connor's still there, they just got Tyler Algier. Like, do you think they're going to let Tyler Algier bring him over and then not put him in the red zone or short yardage? So you got to be lower on here.
The kicker, They have the hardest schedule in the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals may not win a football game this year. They may not win
Yep.
one, and I know they probably will, but they may not with how hard the schedule is.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with that. You want to get any final comments?
No, it's been wonderful. Let us know if you see something you hate, you like, whatever. Let us know. We'll clap and talk about it. Come on now.
Yeah, so just recapping here, we got our rank, we got player team, how they finished last year in PPR, our movements, their total points, and then strength of schedule and the strength of the offensive line is how we're breaking them down this year.
Mhm.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Channel, guys. Catch you in the next one.